Okay. Is anybody in the waiting room? Not yet. They're gonna open up.
Oh, this is so lucky because they get material stuff. Thank you.
Matt, you're not in it.
Wait, let's see. Ah, listen.
Yes, stop.
It's not yours. And I got this. And I have my gummies. Why do you have gummies? They wanted it. Oh, I thought they were special for a man.
Go take it to daddy.
Why can't we hear? Is our volume? Ow!
I'm gonna see if anybody.
For heroes.
Let me see if anybody has it as well.
Oh, they haven't started. There's only 7 people.
No.
This is not a good turnout.
Oh, you're gonna like this one.
Is it your truck? Hey, Judah, you want to see the kids? They're going to be baking, but nobody started yet. Okay, let me mute.
I think we'll give people a few more minutes and then we'll start. Okay, I guess we can get started. I'm not sure if anyone else is going to be joining us. But we can, so I think the first thing that we'll start with is the brownies. If you have any questions along the way, just stop me and let me know. Everyone can preheat their oven to 350 if you haven't already. So the first thing that for the brownies is you're going to take your butter or margarine, depending on if you're making it dairy or parve, and just put a cup of that into a pot because it's going to go on the stove, and you're going to combine that with your chocolate chips. So you're going to have you're going to have 2 cups of chocolate chips, or it could be like chopped dark chocolate or whatever. I prefer like semi-sweet or dark chocolate in this because it has a lot of sugar. I'm gonna use like a bar of dark chocolate and regular chocolate chips for mine. And you just put it right into your pot with the butter or margarine. These. There's one already open. Can I help? So that's 1 cup of butter and 2 cups of chocolate, and just into your pot. I always like to also add in like extra chocolate, depending if you like a more chocolatey brownie, and if you do, you can also add some cocoa powder, but that's at a later step. So you could either add a little bit more, maybe like a 1/4 cup more of chocolate here at this step, or you can add some cocoa powder later on, depending on what you like.
Do you ever make crunchy brownies?
And then when that's all in your pot, you just put it on the stove. You're just melting it down to melt it to come together. You're gonna come back to that and just mix it every couple of minutes just so that it's not sticking or burning. And while that's going, you're gonna take whatever bowl you have and into that bowl, you're gonna crack 5 eggs. You can crack eggs. You can each crack eggs. My helpers are gonna crack eggs. 1 second. Why don't you go bring up a chair?
Hi, and I can raise again. You just avoided the camera. Wait, I'm gonna go to the top. What? Someone got a show. I didn't get. Oh, I love. Okay. 3. I love getting a lot of show. Okay. It's okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have your 5 eggs. Not yet.
Oh.
And then to the 5 eggs, you're gonna add 2 3/4 cups of sugar.
Can I do a second cup? I'll get it with 2 right in the picture.
Okay, so now we have that. This is my chocolate mixture. Just gonna turn it down. You want it over about medium heat. Just keep mixing it till it's all melted. Okay, and then while that's still melting, you want to start mixing your eggs and your sugar. I'm gonna use an electric mixer, like this hand mixer. If you don't have that, you can just do it by hand. That's totally fine. The point is that you want to just get your eggs and your sugar as fluffy as you can before adding in the other ingredients, because this is what's going to give you kind of that like crackly brownie top. When you're,
how much sugar is it?
It's 2 3/4 cups. Yeah. So I actually, I made about like 6 cans of these brownies before the Seders. So I have a lot of them, a few in my freezer still, and they freeze really well. You can freeze them and save them. They're actually good to have also not on Pesach because I don't use any matzo meal or anything like that. But you can add whatever you want. If you like a nut, like pecans or walnuts in your brownies, marshmallows. I'm gonna actually add marshmallows on top of these ones because I already have some plain brownies. But you can really mix in anything. These are more fudgy brownies. So if you want a more cakey brownie, you would use fewer eggs and a little bit more flour, but in this case, not flour. I use coconut flour for these. So, on the camera, you can see that they're starting to get white. I don't know if you can actually see that from this angle. Let's check on the chocolate. Oh, the chocolate is done. Okay, once your chocolate is melted, you just want to move it from the heat and put it aside until the eggs are, that's my dinner for tonight. Yeah, until your eggs are done mixing. You can't really overmix the eggs in this recipe, which is makes it pretty easy, and it's very few ingredients. And if anyone has like an extra set of hands, you can get the pan ready if you're waiting. I'm just gonna get a 9x13 foil pan. I'm gonna line mine with parchment paper. This way you can also reuse your pan, but it's also just easier to get them out of the pan afterwards. You can cut them more easily in the Okay, so now the eggs look good. They're pretty thick. I'll wait a minute for anybody who's doing it by hand. One of the reasons why this is actually, I don't like to bake things on Pesach that you need a lot of like matzah for, or things that couldn't be good during the year also. So one of the reasons that this recipe is so good is because you don't really need a lot of substitute flour. During the year, you can make this recipe with 1 cup of flour is my normal recipe. And now I just substitute a cup of coconut flour. Sometimes I add a little bit of cocoa powder in with that just because it thickens it a little bit. So if you have cocoa powder, you can add that in. But if not, it's fine. It's still gonna turn out. So we may have this now. Okay. Okay, so the next thing is you just slowly pour your chocolate mixture in. Yeah, you can do it. I'm gonna pour it in. I'm gonna do it while my eggs are beating. So those are in. You don't have to like fully incorporate them at the chocolate at all because you're gonna do everything at the end. After you've poured in your chocolate. Oh, wait a minute. Not yet. Okay, after you've poured in your chocolate, you're gonna take a cup of coconut flour, or you could also use almond flour, or potato starch, matzo meal. It just depends like what flavor you prefer. The coconut flour does not have a very coconutty flavor, which is why I like it. It's pretty neutral. So I'm gonna do a cup of that. And here, if you wanna add cocoa powder, if you like it extra chocolatey, I'm gonna add just a 1/4 cup in now of cocoa powder because I want it to be like extra chocolatey. Yeah. And at this point, you can just fold it in. You could continue. I'm just going to use my mixer because it's already here. This is my helper, Beatrice, my niece. And here, I'm going to turn it and then you can hold it. Make sure you hold it. And here, we'll turn it around so everyone can see what it looks like. It's starting to get thick, just like brownie batter. Okay, is it all mixed? You can keep mixing it actually. If you like an extra crackly top on your brownies, You can mix it for like another minute or two here. And that is gonna, whipping the eggs after they're combined, it really gives you like that extra crackly top. So, okay, I think that's good. Okay, so that's it, and you can see it's thick, like a cake batter, like a brownie batter. And that's really it. You can add chocolate chips in, nuts in, whatever you want. I'm gonna just pour my batter straight into the pan, and then I'm gonna top it with marshmallows.
Can you show us how thick your batter is? Because mine doesn't seem that thick.
Sure.
Can you see mine?
Yeah. If it doesn't seem, so I mean, it's not that thick.
Okay.
In the bowl, you can still see, like if you see like what I'm doing here, and after it drips, like you can still see that it's holding its shape in the bowl. So if you think yours is a little runny, you can always add like another 1/4 cup of the coconut flour.
I used almond flour.
Yeah, so that might be why the almond flour is a little bit grainier.
Should I add some cake meal?
Yes, you can. I would add maybe just 1/4 cup.
Okay.
Yeah. But wait, 1 second. Just get that up. Because I need to wash stuff. If you have people taste testing, no. Okay. Yeah. So you can see that this is the thickness of it as it goes into the pan. Okay. Great job. Let's move it out. Okay. Now you guys can lick the bowl, which is, I know why you're helping.
No. I'm helping to like eat something. I'm going to get to my friends.
And spread that evenly through your pan. Yes, you can. I am just gonna add the marshmallows on top because that could be bad. I have a bag of mini marshmallows, so why not? If you are at the top, brown marshmallows, especially concerned to see them like overflowing your oven. Okay. If you are mix it, you can put it in your oven. They'll so if you're set.
Like with the marshmallow?
Wash off my mixer because I'm going to use it for the cookies. So once yours are in the oven, we're going to get started on the cookies.
I'm making chocolate marshmallow Marshmallow cookie. Yum.
No, just put it in.
How much minutes do you put in the brownies for?
25 minutes. Yes.
Thank you. If you don't have brown sugar, can you use white sugar?
For the cookies? Well, you need both. I would say you can, if you don't have it, you can use a little bit more white sugar, but with like a mix of maple syrup if you have, or honey. It's not going to give you the exact same consistency of a cookie though.
Making the chocolate make you have a brownie.
Let's see. Okay, so I'll give one more minute and then we'll start the cookies. For your cookies, you can really make them whatever kind of cookie you want. You can chop up chocolate to make chocolate chunks. You can, again, put nuts in these and anything that you'd like normally put in a cookie. I made them for Seder with chocolate chips. I have now some chocolate bars that I might cut up and put in. But but my nieces are saying if I put nuts in, that would be very bad. So okay. So the first thing that we're going to start with the cookies is I'm going to just have the recipe that I gave you guys just because I already have a bag of the cookie dough in my refrigerator, so I don't need that much more. But the recipe that I sent out makes about like 2.5 dozen, depending on what size cookies you're making. So I'm just going to make like about 1.5 dozen. So your recipe says 1 cup of butter or margarine, so I'm just going to do 1/2 cup. So that should be at room temperature. If you don't have it at room temperature, you can put it in the microwave for about 15 seconds. But don't melt it completely because you still want it to have some. No, stop.
I'm making it to be.
Okay, so I'm gonna start. I have my margarine in my bowl. It's room temperature. It's I have 1/2 cup. You guys are gonna do 1 cup, or you can have it if you want. I'm adding a little less than 1/2 cup of regular sugar because you don't need the full 1/2 cup of the sugar or full cup, depending on what you're doing. And then I'm also going to add a full 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Yeah. And if you're using the recipe that I sent out, you're doing a full cup of brown sugar. Okay, then if you don't have a mixer, you can use a spatula, just smush the butter and brown sugar together. Like make sure you're, I will see if I have one. I'm gonna be using a mixer for this, but just to show whoever doesn't have one, this is why you want it to be room temperature, because you want to be able to kind of pat it down, make sure you're getting all the sugars in there. And do that until they're combined. Just do it like on the first one. It doesn't sound quiet when you're this close to it, but maybe it's just the angle of my phone. Okay, that's good. Okay, so this is what mine looks like right now. Mixer. I'll just give everyone another minute if you just need one. Isla, don't eat that paper.
Oh, it's actually good.
Okay, so then you can crack your eggs. You guys are gonna do 2 eggs. I'm just doing 1 egg. Okay.
Is this what? Sorry. Can I see?
So you just add your 1 egg. Turn the camera back on. And a teaspoon of vanilla. If you guys are doing the recipe I sent out, you're doing 2 eggs and 2 teaspoons of vanilla. So that's in, and then mix that together. This, unlike the brownies, you just want to mix this until combined. You don't want to over mix the egg once it's in there, because then the cookie will kind of deflate the more mixed your egg is. I'll just give everyone a minute. Okay, so the next part that we're gonna do is you just add, we're gonna do our baking soda. So that I'm gonna add a teaspoon. You will, if you're making the recipe, are doing 2 teaspoons. Straight to the batter. Oh, Isla, you took all my spoons. Give me a spoon. Okay, of course it's fine. You can take them. Okay, so we have our baking soda, and then we're gonna add our almond flour. I've tried this recipe a few different ways, and what I found to work the best is, I mean, I don't like matzo meal. I know some people might prefer that. If you do, you can definitely use matzo meal. I'm doing, so my recipe is gonna have 1 1/4 cups of some sort of flour combination. I'm gonna do 1 cup of almond flour, and then I'm gonna just add 1/4 cup of matzo meal for mine. This way you don't actually taste the matzo meal, but it holds it together a little bit better. I find that combination is what works best for me when I'm baking it, but you can do any combination you want. You can do it all almond flour. It just depends on what you like.
Ellie?
Yeah.
I'm gluten-free, so I'll have to use something else. Would coconut flour work or something else better?
Yeah, the coconut flour is fine. It might, if you're using only a quarter cup or less, then that's totally fine because it won't change the flavor. Otherwise, I might use like potato starch.
Oh, good idea. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so if your dough seems like really sticky, really wet, you can add like another teaspoon or two of whatever flours you're using. I'm actually going to add a little bit of coconut flour to mine because I want to, and I have the other one already. And a teaspoon or more of that won't change the flavor. Okay, so this is the texture that I have right now of my cookie dough. I'll show you. Okay, and then I'm just gonna add in my chocolate chips. I'm gonna just get as much of this batter off of these as possible. I'm gonna add in my chocolate chips. I'm gonna add a few, I have a candy bar that I'm gonna break into here. So I'm gonna do some chocolate chunks with my chocolate chips. My daughter is eating all the chocolate chips, so I don't have so many left. Here, can I have one, baby? Okay, no more. And then I'm just gonna mix it with my spoon. So now if you wanted to, if you have the time, you could refrigerate this dough for up to a day. I would, if I had the time right now, I would probably refrigerate it for about 2 hours, but we don't, so we're just gonna bake it. And the only reason that it'll just, but you can bake a few now if you want, and then save the rest of the dough. If you're gonna save it for longer than a week, then I would freeze it, and it can be frozen for up to 3 months. So, and then just if you have a cookie scooper, I would suggest using that to shape your cookies, and that way each of them will be the same size. I don't have a Pesach cookie scooper actually, so I'm just going to use my hands, and I'm just going to roll cookie dough. Yes, each of them is going to be about like a tablespoon size. You can make them whatever size you want.
Is this yucky or yummy? Yucky. Oh, let's do my mom. Mommy, this yummy or yucky?
Honey. Here.
Ellie, can I ask you a general Pesach baking question?
Sure. Sorry, let me just wash my hair. Yeah.
So a lot of the recipes are either matzo meal or part matzo meal and part potato starch. For a sponge cake, would it work to convert it all to potato starch, or would I have to find a recipe that is designed to be only potato starch?
So the recipe is part meal, part potato starch, and you want to convert it to all potato starch.
Sometimes it's just a matzo meal sponge cake, and I just wonder, would it work with potato starch, or do I need a recipe specifically designed around that ingredient?
You don't need it specifically designed around that. The only thing is with potato starch, it's a little gummier than matzo meal, so I wouldn't use as much of it. If you are looking, it wouldn't be like an exact conversion, I guess is what I'm saying. So I would do some matzo meal. You could use potato starch, but you could use almond flour in that instance, because in a sponge cake, the lightness of the almond flour actually works. I've made sponge cakes for Pesach using almond meal, and it's actually come out better than like the more starchy products.
Do you just substitute 100% almond meal for the matzo meal?
Yeah, you'll actually, with almond meal, you'll need a little bit more. So probably about a quarter cup more than what it calls for.
Okay, and that's how you've done it. Wow. Thank you.
No problem.
Do we use parchment paper?
Yes, you have parchment paper. You can spray on a cookie sheet. And then those just go into the oven, also at 350 for 11 to 12 minutes, depending on your oven or what kind of cookie you like. You can always make it longer if you like a crispier cookie. And that's it. My timer has 7 more minutes for my brownies, but if you can see, the top is starting to get browned with the marshmallows.
Did the marshmallows get stirred right under the surface?
I just actually sprinkled them right on top, and they bake into the top.
They just kind of sink down because they look brown with brownie batter.
Oh, no, they're actually not. That's the browning from the oven.
Brown marshmallows. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So they get, they like get a little cooked. Yeah, more of a toasted. But,
that sounds great.
yeah, and you could also, like, if you wanted to do a s'mores brownie, you could do like a layer of graham cracker on the bottom, then pour the brownie batter over that, and then top it with the marshmallows. But yeah, I don't particularly, I know Pesach baking gets a bad rap because people don't love matzo meal or whatever it is that you usually have, but I think it's generally easier to just take a recipe that you like and kind of try to substitute other flours for that, as opposed to trying to find a specifically kosher for Pesach recipe. At least that's what I prefer.
When you've done that with the graham crackers, do you leave them whole or do you use graham cracker crumbs?
I would leave them whole because then you'll have like the actual piece. It's more like a crust.
Wow. Kids would love that.
Yeah. They're just talking about making s'mores tonight in our fire pit. So this could definitely be a good substitution.
So some of the kids, we made s'mores yesterday with matzah instead of graham crackers. It worked pretty well.
It was good?
Yeah, they liked it, but they like matzah anyway.
Is that what you used for the s'mores, is matzah, Ellie?
No, I buy like the kosher for Pesach graham crackers, which are potato flour.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know they had that. I'll have to look for that.
Yeah, I have a box here, I think.
Have you ever put marshmallows in the chocolate chip cookies?
I have not in my Pesach ones, but I have in my regular
I had to clean my oven 3 times before Pesach because I used marshmallows in my brownies.
These are the graham crackers, by the way. The kosher.
This is good to know. I didn't even realize.
Yeah, they're potato starch and tapioca starch.
That's great. And when you were talking about the brownies, I just pictured you were making those kind during the year, but you can make those during Pesach.
Yeah. Oh wow. Oosh, Annabelle. Okay, so if I have a few more minutes on my brownies, but my cookies are going. If you guys have any questions after, if your brownies aren't, they're gonna be a little bit like wiggly still when you take them out of the oven. If they seem really, really wiggly, you can put them for an extra 5 minutes. I wouldn't cook them past 32 minutes, put them in for 25, so I wouldn't do it past that. And then I would just let them set for a couple of hours before cutting them. And yeah, if you have any questions after they come out, feel free to message me.
What did you say about making them crispier? Leave them in longer, the chocolate chip cookies?
Oh yeah, if you just want to leave them in longer, you can. I like a more like gooey cookie. Yeah. So I usually cook them for 11.
I have a recipe and they just like spread out.
Mm-hmm.
They like melt down to nothing. I don't know if these are going to do that or not.
Usually if they seem like, if the dough seems a little bit stickier and watery when you put it in, those are going to spread out more. If you have more like a thicker dough, it shouldn't spread as much. Also, if you add a little less baking soda. But yeah, it depends on the recipe.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Are you cooking for people for Pesach? Are you selling food for Pesach?
Yes, I'm not selling anything for Pesach, no. But I have my my sister is in from Israel.
Oh, she is?
Yeah.
Just her or the whole family?
She's here.
She's cooking for every meal.
Are you in or is everybody in?
All here.
Okay, hi. Good to see you. What?
How are you?
I'm okay. Pretty good.
We're good. Thank God. Everyone's good.
Eating too much for Pesach.
I think that's the goal.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me know if you guys have any questions. Otherwise, I hope that you enjoy.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Pesach.
Bye.
Bye.